So we're going back to the story of Avraham, and like I said, when I did the research, I'm unearthing all these sources, and when it clicked, I think it really made sense. All these. So first of all, which I didn't bring here, there are other midrashim that say the opposite. Avraham did the milah right away. He didn't ask questions, and they base it on the text. Be'etzem hayom hazeh, on that very day, he did the milah, and like Stephanie said, it in line of with Avraham's behavior, he always does things. He's very obedient. It would make sense. It would make sense for him to ask non-Jewish friends. So now, when I see this discussion between Tinius Rufus, right, between Turnus Rufus and Rabbi Akiva, and you see actually that those are the same arguments that the Midrash is putting in Avraham's mouth. The Roman governor which represents the secular culture in the other Midrash is Avraham. So my theory of why the rabbis did that, and that is based on I think things I've experienced in education, is that when someone does something wrong or wants to do something that you think is wrong, and you come and say what you're doing is wrong, I don't accept it.
Well, that works every time.
Automatically, right? That never works. There's already a wall that has been built. Like the curtain comes down. I'm not listening to you because you don't understand me. On the other hand, if you said I understand you and I want to do the same. Like when if my kid gets kicked out of class for talking back to the teacher, and I'll come and say you cannot do that or whatever, and he would say that that never happened to you. We're not talking about my past. This is not good. But on the other hand, if I say, listen, I was an unhappy student and I had situations where I argued with my teachers, so already we are on the same page. We have a certain common language, we have an understanding. This is what the rabbis did. Not all rabbis did that, but the authors of these midrashim and whoever the original grain of the midrash was brilliant, because what he did was the following: he told people, you don't want to do the milah, right? Totally understandable. I really identify with you. You know who else had problems like that? Avraham. Avraham had the same exact struggles as you have today. And let's go back to the midrash of that we read as source number 1. It's Bereshit Rabbah 46. Avraham says, if circumcision is the ideal way, why was it not given to Avraham, to Adam? It doesn't mean why didn't you command Adam to do Brit Milah. He means why didn't you create us circumcised? Because Adam is the first human being, or the first man, so he should have been created circumcised. That is in line with the argument of Tinius Rufus. The baby should be born circumcised. Adam is a newborn baby. So it's the same argument that the rabbis take from the Greek philosophers, the Roman governors, and transfer it to Avraham. Then Avraham goes in the other midrash. We'll start with you mentioned before the drama queen, right? Why is it so dramatic? The rabbis are dramatic. They tell the Jews, if you don't do Brit Milah, it's the end of the world. But they don't put the burden on them. You're good people. Avraham was putting the world in danger. But what they really are thinking is, if you are not going to circumcise, you're going to assimilate into Greek culture. If you assimilate into Greek culture, that's the end of Judaism. The end of Judaism is the end of the world. So hence the drama, right? But it's squeezed in into one sentence and put in the word in God's mouth, so it becomes much more powerful. Now, the second midrash on Parashat Membet, it comes earlier, but I put it second. Avraham goes to ask his 3 friends. Anel says, you're almost 100 years old, you're going to cause pain to yourself? That was probably one of the arguments of people against circumcision. Doesn't matter what age. Why are you hurting the baby? So the rabbi says, yeah, it was mentioned before. People already used this argument. Avraham did. Amar lo eshkol, ma at holech umesayem et atzmecha ben sonecha. Mesayem in modern Hebrew we use to finish or to end, to conclude. But here it comes from the word siman, a mark, right? A sign.
Yeah.
It says you're marking yourself, meaning you're putting a mark in your body, which is unremovable.
You'll never pass.
Right, and that it was the argument of those who wanted to Hellenize. They said we want to be good Jews, except for this thing because it's a mark, it's the mark of the Jew, and we don't want it. Mamre answers, God was with you so far. Would you not do this for Him? It's almost as saying, yes, it doesn't make sense, but that is your not in. Why do I have it to do it there of all places? Why only men have to do it? But meaning because it's a if it was a milah of the finger, then everybody could have done that, right? So we could ask questions, but the answer of Mamre is this is a brit. This is your sign of allegiance with God, and God was with you so far. You should be with God. That is the message that the rabbis want to deliver. Now, the next midrash. Now we see it in that light. So now you try to transpose that from Avraham to the Hellenizers. Avraham says, "I have no visitors." So people in the Greek period would say, "I have no friends. I want to hang out with
With my buddies.
with the guys from the what do you call it, Kappa Beta, whatever, like all those Greek
sororities, fraternities.
right? Fraternities, sororities, whatever it is. I want to hang out with the Greek guys, but I can't. What God says, don't worry. Before you did the Brit Milah, who are your friends? The uncircumcised. You don't want them.
You don't want to join a frat anyway.
Exactly. You want to be my friend, God and His entourage of angels.
You don't want to be in any other fraternity.
No, so yeah, this is exactly it.
You did?
Yeah, you're
I was in
divine.
a music sorority fraternity. It was Zona.
I went to NYU. We didn't do that.
Yeah,
That's where we started. What are you talking about?
I went to college in Israel. That doesn't even exist.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, so
Buy your friends. Come on.
so. What the rabbis are saying, they say Avraham had the same concerns as you did. This is the beauty of this. As a pedagogical tool, they first validate all the concerns of the people. You're right. It is painful.
That's the key right there. It's the validation.
It's the validation, right? It's the validation of your concerns. You are right. It is painful. It is strange. Why did God did not create us like that? We are alienating ourselves from certain people, but you know what? We don't want to be their friends. For whatever reason it is, at the time it worked. And God wants us to perfect His creation. That's a noble concept. We are constantly perfecting creation. So when you circumcise a baby, it's painful. But when you realize that you have the responsibility to do tikkun olam, we take it beyond the idea of just turning grain into wheat and fiber into garments. Then you realize that you have role. And really, the Jews didn't have that concept of the redemptive power of your actions. That you could make the world a better place. The Greeks didn't have that. The Greeks lived in a world of which was a fatalist. The gods toyed with people, and at a certain point they destroyed everyone. Like the Trojan War. It depends on which camp you are. One day you'll be up, and the other day they'll kill you. And all other mythologies up to the time, Scandinavian with Ragnarok, and so each one of them had its own end of days where everything will be destroyed. Judaism offered redemption, and redemption through our actions. So just as we perfect God's world, then we do the Brit Milah as well. So I was searching for something that could confirm, besides my assumption that people were reluctant to do the Brit Milah. I wanted to find a source that confirms that.
Are these people? Are they referring to in Tanhuma Tadriya? Are they referring to this conversation? Is this geared towards people who are questioning their faith?
No, this is a real conversation. that took place.
Oh, but is it geared to somebody? Is it focused on a certain dynamic of people? Is it for? I mean, obviously, people are going to read it. Is it directed towards somebody, or is it just like somebody?
It's the same audience that questions the Brit Milah, but the difference is that the dialogue between Tinius Rufus and Rabbi Akiva did take place. This is a real story.
Oh.
I mean, we don't know if it was if it's quoted verbatim.
He hauled him into the town square or something like that, or
no. Before Rabbi Akiva had interaction with Roman nobility in Israel and in Rome. We know there's evidence, like I said yesterday, that he was involved in mass conversion, but he was also involved in what let's call it high-end conversion. Like he went after the nobility. He went after senators and their families because he wanted to Ivanka Trump. Okay, that's the kind of conversions that Rabbi Akiva did. Does it make sense, right? Haskell Lickstein converted Ivanka Trump, and now her conversion,
totally orthodox.
her conversion is being questioned. But you see so when Rabbi Akiva converts a senator and his wife, which we have evidence of, and then there's a decree against the Jews. The senator commits suicide, and the rule is that when a senator commits suicide or dies, doesn't matter how, the bill, which is on the floor, is pulled out. So the decree was canceled.
because he killed himself.
Yes. So he sacrificed his life for the Jewish people. So we had like an infiltrator within the Roman Senate. So this is the kind of work that Rabbi Akiva, he didn't tell him to commit suicide, right? And also if you don't like any bill which is on the floor of the Senate today, don't entertain such ideas. That's not what I'm saying. God forbid. But I mean the interaction, or the how we call it, the interaction of religion and
Interplay.
and politics and power was very evident at the time. You could not separate religion from state. And Rabbi Akiva used the religion, and he argued with the philosophers. He argues about Mimila. He argues about other things. And here we have another thing that comes also from the period of Rabbi Akiva. This is the fact that for me corroborated the concept of that the rabbis had to deliver a message. Now, so like Josh said, the first important thing is the validation, but then you go for the kill, which is Avraham did it, and you should do it too. Despite all the doubts and all the questions, it's a setup. If I had all these difficulties and I did it, so just as you've identified with me in the first part of the process, you could identify with me in the second part of the process. Yeah, you could call it manipulative.
Well, you see it in cop shows all the time. You know, they get the guy in the box, and they're like, listen, I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, I would have been mad too, you know?
Yeah,
and then they're like, yeah.
It doesn't make it invalid.
So you killed her, and then, you know, they got the confession.
Right, and if it's really a criminal, it's okay that we got the confession, right? If not, it's a problem. Right. Yeah. It's an educational tool. I mean, as educator, and you'll see it as a parent, right? Sometimes you'll have to convince your daughter to do things that she doesn't want to do. And sometimes you're not going to tell her the whole truth.
Yeah, that's already happening.
Okay.
That's easier. Just, hey, you know, your friends are doing it.
Yes.
That's the new cool thing to do.
She's going to Google it. She only needs to be 2 to Google. So.
She has already taught me things about my phone. I'm not
Yes.
kidding you. She's 18 months old.
Yep.
Taught me about FaceTime. Yeah, I had no idea you could move your own face to where it's not blocking the face of the person. She's like touching the screen. She moved it, and I was like,
So let's go back to the story of the Brit Milah. I want to show you this story. This is from the Talmud Yerushalmi Masechet Shabbat, and this is Rabbi Yehuda, which is Yehuda. But remember, I told you that in the Yerushalmi accent, some they couldn't pronounce the Aleph or the Hey, so El Azar become Azar. Okay, so The Gemara says, "Hamashuch lo yimol, shelo yavo lidei sakana, divrei Rabbi Yehuda." Rabbi Yehuda says, one with pulled foreskin should not circumcise because it is dangerous. Amar lo Rabbi Yosef, harbe meshuchin haya bimei ben Koziva. There were many such cases in the time of Bar Koziba. V'chulan malu v'hayu v'olidu banim uvanot. They all circumcised and survived and had sons and daughters. So first, the historical context. Who is Ben Koziba? Bar Koziba?
Is that Bar Kokhba?
Yeah, it's Bar
Oh, was
Kokhba.
it? Okay.
Bar Kokhba. His real name was Shimon Bar Koziba
Why did everybody call him Rabbi? Bar
because Rabbi
Kokhba?
Akiva renamed him Bar Kokhba.
Oh.
Because of the Bar Kokhba revolt.
Yes. So this is the Bar Kokhba revolt was from 132 to 135 of the Common Era. The spiritual leader of the revolt was
Bar Kokhba.
Rabbi Akiva.
Oh, Rabbi. The spiritual leader.
The spiritual leader, right? But the ideological leader, he went,
Right.
like I said,
Well, he was the martyr at the end of
he was the martyr also, was part of it. He went to Africa and France and the Mediterranean islands to raise funds and to recruit warriors for the campaign. And he ran Bar Koziva. He didn't like the name Bar Koziva because it comes from the word kazav, which means lie or false.
Why would anybody have that name?
Bill Cosby.
Let's put that back before it
Yeah, there are a lot of strange
Is that
names.
recorded?
Yes. There are a lot of strange names. You look at the last names, you'll have, anyway, he changed it. He
It
changed
could
it
be
to.
Bill Cosby though. Look at
But
that.
who knows? Maybe people call this Bar Koziva because he was a liar. I don't know.
Or like 8 generations back.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe someone was a liar in the family. Who knows? Anyway, he renamed it Bar Kokhba.
We're just
Like the star is the star because there's a pasuk in the prophecy of Bilam, Darach Kochav Mi'akov. A star is shooting or star shots shoots from Yaakov, and he's this shooting star who's going to be the Mashiach. So, and in this context, it's the same Rabbi Akiva that argues with Tinius Rufus. So we have maybe it's not in the beginning of the Hellenistic period, but it's something that built up over time. So the Greek invasion to Israel was in 323. This is in 132, so about 400 years later. So it's enough of time to let assimilation sink in and people be influenced. So what are they talking about here? They're talking about someone with a pulled foreskin, and this person is about to circumcise. What happened here? Remember, we spoke about people who the parents had doubts whether to circumcise their children, but the children who were circumcised when they grew up were now doubting whether is there a way to cover up for the circumcision, and they found a way, which is pulling their foreskin and covering in a way that it looks as if they're not circumcised, right? And now they come with remorse, and they wanted to circumcise again. So they want to circumcise themselves. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, don't do that. It's dangerous. Because it's not in the natural stage. Rabbi Yosef says, Harbe meshuchin hayu bimei koziva, v'chulan malu v'hayu v'oridu. But there were many such cases at the time of Bar Kokhba, and they did the circumcision, and they lived, and they had sons and daughters. Why is it important for Rabbi Yosef to say that there were many such cases at the time of Bar Kokhba? You could have omitted that because there were many such cases, because surely there were other cases in other times.
Well, that was a particularly stirring moment. It's like,
Right,
you're
why?
harking back to nostalgia, or like we were strong then, and
Is it about military prowess? You think?
something like that, or I don't know, military prowess, but more like, look, if I'm talking about if I'm sitting here in the modern time and I'm trying to be motivated to do something that's difficult, or trying to be given an excuse to do something that, if I have remorse, like I'm gonna want some sort of story that's gonna make me the blood
So it would be
surge
good to,
and
like, if
think-
say the Marines do it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. When I was in the Marine, when I was in the military, we did that.
I always think of
When
like
we were strong, we did that.
I'm just thinking of
Let's
like
make America
advanced
great
medicine.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
medicine always.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I always think of like medicine always advancing. So like, yeah, like in Bar Kochba, like 135 CE, they did it. So like, don't you guys like you can't complain.
Right.
Like medicine, we're more advanced, we're more knowledgeable, we're
Okay.
more aware. I mean, that's my perspective of like if they did it then and they had issues, they had problems, everything.
So even
wasn't-
more so now,
Then
right?
even more so now.
And we also have the the empirical science to prove it. They had children and also on. Yes.
It's also
Caroline?
spiritual survival too, right?
In what sense?
What's dangerous might not necessarily be their physical safety,
Mhm.
but the safety, the perpetuation of the community.
So here's the
Ideology.
correlation. Bar Kochba is a revolution that it is military, but also had a spiritual leader, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the one who argues with Tinius Rufus about the importance of the Brit Milah. It's very probable that he delivers these words to the troops, many of whom, if they are meshuchim, meaning they covered their foreskin, meaning they were engaged in Greek culture, they were athletic, they were warriors, and he says, yeah, you're warriors, you're great, but as long as you're not circumcised, it's not good. And they go and re-circumcise themselves. So here's the historical correlation. We took the Midrash. You see, like how all these things come into place. We start with the text from the Torah. We start with the foothold, with an anchor, or like the Baalei Brit that is not really there. The rabbis create this, like they make this case for or against Avraham, saying Avraham is not interested in the Brit Milah. He asks questions, he argues, he goes to consult his friends, he complains afterwards. But all these arguments of Avraham echo exactly the concerns that people have at the time of the rabbis. And one specific rabbi, Rabbi Akiva, who's the same guy, same person who's leading the Bar Kochba rebellion spiritually, and he causes this reawakening. Say, guys, what we're doing is not right. We should be like Avraham. We should go and circumcise ourselves. Right?
So, I mean, I guess it's not propaganda, but you could call it propaganda.
It is propaganda, yes. It is
It's
like
still propaganda,
it's a steering
on their
moment.
side.
It's you want to get people excited. Okay, so there is a story not related to that, but I think it's somehow associated that Bar Kochba used to conduct tests like of sort of feats of bravery or strength to see who can join his army, and the test was you had to bite off your finger, and then people told him, Ad mata ata matil mumin b'bahurei Israel? Why are you making people imperfect, right? Or you're causing them to be mutilated, right? And then they changed it to a test that you had to uproot a tree while riding a horse. So it seems like Rabbi Akiva, in the same line of story,
It's like a crazy
could come and say, okay, you already took those tests, right? You were able to bite off your finger or to uproot a circumcision is not a big problem. It's an ideological thing, you can do that. So that, to me, it's interesting how the Midrash, when you dig into it,
Talking about cult.
yes and no. I mean, the real question would be, was it worth it to fight?
They lost
They lost. And it was a devastating loss.
horribly.
Horrible in the sense of from the year 69 to 70, where the Great Revolt and destruction of the temple, 60 years passed till that one. And the community almost managed to rehabilitate itself. But after this one, there was no return. The community in Israel was decimated. They never had independence again. Had we not had this revolt, things have been different. How different? We don't really know, but definitely take a different course, maybe for the better. But in any case, it's interesting how we've embraced the character of Rabbi Akiva as a spiritual leader, as a scholar, despite the fact that in the military or the political arena, it was a complete failure. So that's, but we have a parallel today where, at least in the Orthodox world, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who was the chief rabbi of Israel, chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel, made a very poor decision when it comes to politics to sign the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords were not orchestrated in the right way. And their main, not that I'm not in favor of peace, I think we should have peace, I think we should reconcile with the Palestinians. The problem is, we have to find some way for this solution. The problem with the Oslo Accords is that we always said, as Israelis, that we do not negotiate with terrorists. And once we've broken that rule, and we went and we did like this agreement with Arafat, the message that we deliver to the other side is terrorism works. And that's why, since then, every time we're about to reach an agreement, there's another act of terrorism, because they say, okay, we're just going to, punch harder and it's going to work. We should have insisted that in order to sign an agreement, we want a government. We want a government which is, and of course, then you had to work on a two-state solution or whatever it is, but that was not the way. Now, at the time, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef was the leader of the Shas party. He had 17 members in the party, and so he served. He was the balance. He was the tipping point, and the proponents of the Accords convinced him that this is the right thing to do. What he didn't know was that the head of the party, Aryeh Deri, made sort of an agreement with the
what's it called, a backroom deal?
The backroom deal, right? Where I will get my party to sign the agreement, and you will approve the budget for my educational system, right? So years later, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef told his family, and I know it from one of his grandsons who was my student in a kollel in New York, that he said, I was misled by Aryeh Deri. I made a big mistake. He admitted to himself. So now, okay, so 20 years later, the followers of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef fully embrace his halachic teachings, even though in one decision that was really crucial for the future of the state of Israel, here you have this terrible mistake. So we've seen that, and in a way, we have to justify past decisions. This is also psychological proven fact. When we believe in something and it doesn't happen or it goes against it, we have to convince ourselves that this is that was the right decision. Like Pete Best, who was the original drummer for the Beatles, but then quit, and Ringo Starr replaced him. He was asked years later, says, it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah, sure. Okay. But what are you going to say? You're going to live in remorse the rest of your life? You have to accept it. Okay. So this
Doesn't make it not true.
What?
He could think it was the best decision because he convinced himself he had to do it. So you think he's wrong, but
no, I don't think he's wrong. I just think he's lying.
You got to have a life.
I'm sure that if you ask, J.K. Rowling's husband, was it a good thing you divorced her? Well, yeah, it was the best thing I ever did. I'm sure he would say it to anyone who asked him. On the other hand, I'm sure that every day he gets up and bangs his head on the wall. Why didn't I wait one more year, So...
You might not have written the book set had that not happened.
Maybe. Anyway, I think that's one miserable ex-husband out there in the world.
I always sort of just assumed he was an asshole, so he deserved it. I'm sorry, that was a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean,
okay.
he left her in poverty.
No, I don't pity him. Don't misunderstand
She
me.
found the dole.
I think it deserves. Yeah.
Like, it's not like he was like...
I agree. I don't think he
in his
deserves
kids'
any.
lives.
It doesn't deserve any pity or mercy. I'm just saying that's how he's. Anyway.
That's how you envision it.
Yes. So this is my theory of this Midrash. I think it works well because all the pieces really fall into place. The problem is that once this was forgotten, meaning the original agenda, after this period passed, we had a low. We went through this really nadir, and then we went back to the zenith of okay, everybody's doing it. Nobody questions the Brit Milah until today. Then the remnants of the Midrash that were borrowed from the Midrash and put in the Rashi's commentary become, it's not obsolete, but they don't deliver the right message. So when you read the text, the Midrash was correct in its original context. This is a very good example of what Ramban says, that someone said it in a certain context and someone wrote it down. It was not meant to be written down. It was meant for a certain period, certain crowd, and they knew exactly what you're talking about, because you would maybe the rabbi afterwards would have said, listen, you see, Avraham did that. We could do it also, but this is not in our written version.
Yeah, I think we do the same thing in certain contexts too.
All the time.
The way that we speak to, students is different than when we speak to significant other or a congregant.
100%. But when you write it down, you are so careful, right? You measure every word to say, right? Why do you know that you have now an option on Google to delay sending an email? You know that? You could put in the settings that when you hit send, it tells you undo.
4, 3, 2, 1.
You could undo your action. Yes. Why? Because oh my God, no, I should not have done that, right? Or you see it. Sometimes it's a typo. Sometimes it's really okay. So with the Midrash, if you didn't have that, someone heard the Midrash and put it down and said, I don't want it to be written because it's going to be misconstrued. And we have many examples like that. When we get to Rashi, we'll see that and in other units of this course, where the Midrash was meant to deliver a certain message to a certain audience. Here, the damage is not so great, but in other cases, the damage was done. Yes.
So this is the Yerushalmi Shabbat. So, like, the Yerushalmi was codified a little bit after the Babylonian?
Before,
okay.
There was really no codification for either.
But I think, you say like 500 to 800 or whatever.
More like cessation of activity. No, okay.
Okay.
Website under construction, and then that's it. We're not doing it anymore.
Since 2012
right.
or whatever.
What happened was that people stopped learning the Yerushalmi, so it became more obscure, more difficult to interpret.
So, but the reason that I ask is because it's included. I'm thinking about who are they talking to? You're saying that it's been, it's been changed from its original.
Yeah. So here it's not
here
is not a message. This is not a
They
message.
just caught it. And
they are talking now really about practical. It's about a generation or two after Bar Kochva.
Okay.
But what you do have as a remnant from this period, by the way, is, and it went all the way to Gaonic period, is that they didn't appreciate people who covered their private parts when they went to the mikveh, because they felt that maybe they're trying to hide the fact that they're circumcised, or they covered the circumcision by pulling their skin, and so they had there was residue of this thing going on for a long time, even when the original reason was forgotten. So now let's go to the second example of that kind of agenda, and that is the story of Esther and Mordechai. What was the relation between Esther and Mordechai?
Mordechai was her uncle.
Uncle,
cousin?
niece, cousin.
That's right.
Cousin.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a no. That's it. It's a cousin. Yeah. There's a popular children's song in Hebrew. They say Yodim atem mi dodi. Who's my uncle Mordechai Yehudi. It rhymes, but it's not true. They were cousins. Why do we think that he's the uncle? Because he's older. So because he became the adoptive father, so we assume automatically he's a cousin, is an uncle, not a cousin. But if you read source number, no numbers here, the second source on page 19, anyone? Uvimot?
Yeah, Uvimot, Avia, Ve'ima,
Lekaha,
Mordechai, Lo, Laban. Tana, Mishum, Rabbi Meir, Al Tigrei, Laban, Ela, Labait. Or
Lebait, yeah.
When her father and mother died, Mordechai took her to be his daughter. Rabbi Meir said, don't read daughter, but rather house.
It's a euphemism, right? For a wife.
Right.
Okay. So not a very, do you like this euphemism?
No, not at all. And in fact, not only that,
I'm
I
gonna go
don't
call the
like
house.
most of these that do the wordplay like this. I dismiss outright. It's
Okay.
cute, but it's
Okay.
to me
So
very
now tell me why it doesn't work. Tell me why it doesn't work.
She marries
Ahasuerus,
Ahasuerus.
She's
right?
gonna be an adulteress.
She will be an adulteress. What else? What
It doesn't
Incest.
exist.
what category of women is Ahasuerus looking for?
A virgin.
Virgin.
A virgin. So she's married. She's not a. But the rabbi solved it. She was betrothed to Mordechai, but the marriage was not consummated.
She's dumb.
You know
Wait,
what?
that's which.
Like, why?
Why would she be a married woman? Why marry her off to Mordechai?
Yeah,
Right?
why do they want her to be more? Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't add anything to the story.
It's
Right.
like a confusion.
For confusion. Okay.
I'm a little
Intrigue.
confused only because, like, if you read because I did so much research on Nida and women and how women were viewed and the euphemisms used for, or the basically women as objects.
You were talking about the
Yes. I forget where
Miriam.
the
Yeah.
I forget. I have all the sources highlighted in one of the books that you recommended to me. But here it says it's a euphemism for house, but I just remember house. And maybe I'm thinking too analytically, but house wasn't a woman's. I mean, she was she would clean the house and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
owner
that-
of the house
Yeah.
was the male,
Yeah,
right?
there is something there. I don't
So-
think that they refer to it as in that context. What Stephanie's talking about, they talk about the genitalia as being a corridor, a house, a room, an attic, which.
The male is an owner of.
Yeah, the male is owner of the house, and the woman is just an
Therefore,
object. She's
male
a
is-
work of architecture. But I think in this
No,
context.
I meant an actual house. No, I didn't mean genitalia.
Oh, okay, because
in
it's
this-
also in Nida it's mentioned like
But
that.
yes, exactly, and I remember exactly reading
They
that.
talk about the woman as a granary that she's built in the right way to
Right.
contain the fetus. But in this context, they speak about the bite as she's the one who provides the man shelter and peace and a place to come to. So she gives the house its character or its personality. So in a more
I wasn't thinking that
symbolic way.
analytic. I wasn't thinking that, but I know where you're coming from. I was just thinking house like an actual, house.
Okay.
Like that the owner, that the male is the
Oh,
owner
that she's
of the actual
yeah.
house, not the owner of the
Ah,
woman.
okay.
But that they refer to house as I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm just all right.
Could be, but it is a question of ownership, right? If the woman is a house, and so the man is the landlord, right? In a way, right? And we spoke about that. The women's status in the Talmud is that, but in this case, actually, it will be surprising. But look at the next entry from the same tract of Megillah. Amar Rabba בר לימה, שהייתה עומדת מחיקו של אחשוורוש, וטובלת ויושבת בחיקו של מרדכי. She would get up from Ahasuerus' lap, bathe in the mikveh, and sit in Mordechai's lap. Sorry.
What does that mean?
That,
Sure don't sound
Is
good.
that another euphemism?
no, that it seems to be.
Purify yourself.
She goes to the mikveh because she has to be pure,
Right.
and then she goes home to her husband, to her real husband, Mordechai. So basically, she travels back and forth between the palace and Mordechai's house, right?
I think they're just trying to defame her so
No.
that she's not actually the heroine of the story.
Okay, well, that's what it is. Maybe, but
I can see
before
that totally.
Something symbolic of having Esther and Mordecai, having them be a married couple.
he still loves her. She
I
still
think they're
loves him.
trying. Maybe it's just maybe they're trying to make the story more enticing. Maybe
Okay,
they want to,
right.
What are they trying
Make it
to
sexier.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, those-
before we see what they're trying to address, let's ask this question. How does it work practically with the storyline of the Megillah? Like, if they would really come to scrutinize this
She
theory,
can't leave the
Yeah.
palace
She's
Why?
the ownership of
because she is
yeah.
owned by Ahasuerus. And
And-
Exactly.
there are
But there
eunuchs
is a lot of
that.
back and
Okay,
Yeah.
there are men who guard the harems.
yeah, and make sure that the women
The
are not-
harems are. It's not called. in the Megillah it's called Bet HaNashim, right? The women's house. We call it harem. From, you know which language?
Greek.
No, actually it's Arabic. It would be nice if they Greek. We have to be.
There you go.
It's called there you go. Harmon. They call it Harmon in Hebrew, which is like a wordplay. Harmon is palace, and Harmon is the women's palace. But it really comes from the word harem, which is both in Hebrew and Arabic. In Arabic, harem in Hebrew is something which is relegated, excommunicated, something that you're not to touch. In Arabic, with the same letters but a different nikud, the word haram means forbidden. So harem, that's the word.
Women who are forbidden to other men.
Yes, they were forbidden. It's the property of the king. And why is it guarded by eunuchs?
Because they can't have sex with the women.
Exactly. So and they were castrated in order to protect the women. Also, so to think that Esther was free to travel from the harem, from this protected place, to Mordechai's house, just to travel is difficult. Now, another thing. At the end of the story, this whole convoluted, complicated story of the Megillah, right? Why is Haman eventually? Why is he put to death? Why is he executed? For what sin?
He falls on top of the Esther.
So
on
what is the sin?
Like rape.
No,
Defiling the, I don't know.
No, it didn't. It didn't do that. It was just begging and praying. But the king perceived it as he's making an advance on the
Wife.
right, and he says, "Hagam lichbosh et Amaka." Oh, you want to conquer the queen's property, right? She's territory. You want to conquer the queen here in my home,
Right.
So Haman's demise doesn't come because he's trying to destroy a whole nation. It's because the king thinks that he's having an affair with Esther. So what would have happened if the king would find out that Esther has having an affair with Mordechai?
He would.
Same king or not, he'd be dead.
Right,
Yeah, both would be dead.
right. So it makes no sense. Why marry them
committing
off?
treason.
So first, to say that they were married is not in the text. But then, not only they're married, they keep their marital life after. It's against all logic.
If Esther had to, was supposed to be hiding her Judaism, how could she go to the mikvah?
She goes
Okay.
at night.
No, at that point,
She's the
though-
queen. She could build a mikveh in the palace without anyone knowing. Which was easier. I mean, it's easier than people think. They just you could make. This is a very sensitive issue in terms of the mikveh. But anyway, so this is a problem, right? Why are they making up this story? Like you said, maybe they're trying to put her down. Did they not think that she was a heroine? So let's look at the next story. This is Mishnah from the tractate of Adayot. Some people call it Eduyot, which means plural of Edut, testimony. Sephardic tradition, which I follow, call it Adayot, which means the choicest. And it's sort of like an anthology of oral testimonies of rabbis. After the destruction, they sort of like each one came and presented the most accurate tradition that he had. Josh, any question?
Is this in Nizikim?
Yes, it's in the order of Nizikim.
Oh, I remember.
Yes.
It would have been. She would have been defiled by a non-Jew.
Yes.
And
There's a whole discussion of the
She
Talmud.
would have been in a lower category. So they didn't want her to be in that lower category, so they married her off to Mordecai.
Right. So they don't want to make her into
They
someone.
were trying to help her retroactively.
Right. So here we have this Mishnah in Masachet Adayot. You know what? Let's go first to the source on page 20, on top, and it says this. Anyone wants to read?
The source on page 20?
20, yeah, top of the first one, from Ktubot to 9. So okay, Isha shenechbesha bidei goyim al yedei mamon muteret leba'ala. A woman who was captured for ransom by non-Jews is allowed to her husband, meaning when she's released, she could go back to her husband. Because we assume that she was not violated and there was no consensual sexual relationship. Al yedei nefashot asura leba'ala. But if it was for a capital offense, she is forbidden. Or, meaning that they use her in order to get the husband or to kill someone, then we assume that they don't value her life, and they do with her whatever they want.
So only for ransom.
For ransom, she could go back, right?
And that's al yedei mamon?
Al yedei mamon, yeah. Mamon is meaning in order to get money. Right, literally it's in order to get money. Al yedei nefashot means in order to get someone or someone's life. So, Ir shekvasha karkom, a city conquered by foreign soldiers, kol kohanot shenimtzeu betocha pesulot. All wives of kohanim in it are disqualified because
Qualified
from going back to their husbands. Because even if there was no consent and they were violated, they were raped, they cannot go back to their husband.
And it's assumed they were raped.
And right, because it's war, and the soldiers don't care about. And unfortunately, we know of situations like this today as well. If they have witnesses that they were not attacked, even a slave or a maidservant, they are reliable. But one is not reliable regarding himself.
Does
Actually,
that mean herself?
herself, yes. Lost in translation, but I think it's mine.
No, it's not. It's atzmo.
I know, yeah, but it's general, so it's the default
Oh.
for yeah. So they should have said ve'en ne'emana. No, but also actually it also refers to the husband, because if the husband comes and says
She wasn't.
nothing happened, they wouldn't trust him.
Oh.
Amar Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav, Rabbi Zechariah, the son of the butcher, said, "Hama'on hazeh, I swear by the temple, lo zaza yada mitoch yadi, misha'ah shenichnesu goyim liYerushalayim v'ad sheyatzeu." Her hand did not move from my hand from the moment the non-Jews entered Jerusalem till the moment they left. So, meaning I
She was with them the
protected
whole
her.
time.
She was with me the whole time. Amru lo, en adam me'id al atzmo. Sorry,
Hold by the-
we don't trust you. You cannot. You're subjective, and you cannot testify. You're
So
not-
therefore, she cannot.
she cannot
be
live with you because he was a kohen.
What happened to all of them?
Next Mishnah, the Talmud explains, Tana.
So can I just can we go back? I just want to make sure I
Yes,
understand
go
this.
ahead.
So basically, if a woman is captured and she cannot go back to her husband because they're assuming that somebody had sexual that they
Right.
raped her.
Right, and they say if she was raped, it's not her fault, right? But maybe at a certain point she was, she agreed to it, and if she agreed to it, she's an adulteress, which is a terrible statement, right? To think that
Someone who was raped is an adulteress.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
yes,
But
still.
this-
I mean, I remember when years ago when I taught one of the first courses of the AJR, an issue came up, not even in that context, and we spoke about the court system in America, and not much has changed in a way that rape victims are accused of being the perpetrators.
Yes,
In a way,
adulteress.
right? So because the Kohenet, yes, go ahead, Josh.
So this is the concept of not being reliable regarding one's own testimony. That's only in the case of the Kohenet.
Yes,
Not in the case where we started with just a woman.
And a regular
Who's captured.
Israelite.
yeah. With the regular woman, it's we say if it's for money, then
Can return
you could come back. If it's for
life.
right, but the difference is that the first case is someone who was captured; she was in captivity. The second case is a city just went. The soldiers just went through it, so people could have escaped. So regarding any other woman, there's the doubt. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't happen. But with the Kohenet, even the doubt is enough to right. So look at the. And this is very emotional. Like I read that, I feel so bad. Just both for her, and for the husband. The poor husband really,
And he couldn't protect
he's the
her.
kind of who's protecting his wife. It says Tana, ve'af al pichen yihed labayit b'chatzero. Even so, even though they didn't let her live with him, he designated a house for her in the courtyard. in his courtyard. Meaning, she's part. Like, have you ever you've gone to Yerushalayim? You see the courtyards. Everybody lives in the same. So she's still the matriarch. She lives there. כשהיא יוצאה בראש בניה, וכשהיא נכנסת בסוף בניה. When they all go out, she goes ahead of the sons, and when they all come back, she goes at the end. I guess that was to show respect, that she's the mother. She's the head of the family. So here's an exceptional case of Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav. He is this amazing person who cares for his wife, protected her, and even when the rabbinical court said that you cannot live with her, she's the one, right? This is really.
Right. Well, look at the development from the Mishnah to the Torah.
Yes, yeah.
It's not. There are different time periods here. Right? Because the first is what we read from Mishnah.
Yes. Yeah, the Talmud comments. No, but the Tana is a baraita, meaning it's an external source that goes back there, but they know more information about the story. Now, go back to page 19 and look at the bottom source there in Adayot. We had a testimony by two rabbis. They are both Kohanim, and one of them we're already familiar with. He'id Rabbi Yosei Kohen and Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav. Rabbi Yosei the Kohen and Rabbi Zechariah the son of the butcher testified. All of Masechet Adayot are testimonies where people come and give, like I said, oral traditions. What was the story? Al tinoket shehu hana be'Ashkelon, of a young girl who was kidnapped for ransom in Ashkelon. What does the Mishnah tell us? The next Mishnah, what would be the case if this woman? Tinoket means a young girl, not a baby.
Well,
she's married.
Then she's allowed.
She could go back to her husband.
Right.
V'rihakua b'nei mishpachta. She was rejected by her family. Isn't it fitting for Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav to testify that? Because he's so upset with it. Because he's the guy who lived through it, where he knew that nothing happened to his wife, and still they didn't let him live with her, but he respected her. And here's the opposite. Here's a woman who was captured, released for ransom. According to halacha, she could be back with her husband, but the family rejects her, including the husband. Even though she had witnesses that she was not alone with the captor or that she was defiled. So what we see here, you see, with the halacha is like in the middle, and we have the two extremes.
What people do.
Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav doesn't accept the halacha. He cannot fight it, but he does whatever he can to show respect to his wife. It's his way also of protesting, of saying, I don't think it's right. On the other hand, we have people who go against halacha in the other way. Oh, we want to be more religious. You say that the husband says, you can say that she can come back to me. I'm not so sure, maybe not. Right? What are you going to do? So Rabbi Yosei Kohen, Rabbi Zechariah ben Akatzav, this story, the other story, trying to say, no, you should and you can and you should go and live back with her. But it was not enough, because we know, here's the fact, the people rejected their relatives who were captured.
So the Mordechai and Esther is a kind of transference of this disenchantment with the halakha back onto that story. Right?
In what way?
That if to accept Esther, the way to accept Esther,
right?
Because she did go out and was apparently
captured,
lived as a captive,
right?
But she, in some way, has to regain status.
Right. And is she accepted or not?
Yes.
She's accepted because Mordechai accepts her every time. So that was the method of the rabbis, a little like actually this interpretation I heard from one of my professors in Bar Ilan, Ephraim Yitzhaki. That was when I was doing my BA, and actually it prompted me. He just said in passing, he was a teacher of Mishnah and not Midrash, and he said that it had this it was illuminated to say that, and I really thought it was brilliant because he came from the Mishnah, and I took his idea and tried to look in other midrashim, and I found that it's consistent that we have the school of thought that says, let us teach people through the story, like you said, Caroline, through the narrative. And what is the narrative? Say, especially in rabbinical times, the heroes who still live in the awareness of the people, in the collective awareness of the people, are Mordechai and Esther. Like, they're the heroes. From there, they save the people. And the rabbi would come and say, you think that you're suffering with all that? Mordechai and Esther went through that. And she was captured and she was defiled. And yet, Mordechai accepted her willingly.
And Mordechai married her, right?
He married her and he was loyal to her, was faithful to her. Like, isn't it interesting? It gives a positive,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like it either, but.
No, they had.
I mean,
It's justification.
No,
for their,
I'm
like,
saying that. No,
they were trying, but it was like, look, it's already just too difficult to stomach that there was an entire society of people willing to throw out women after they're raped. I know it still happens.
Right.
I'm aware of this fact, but it's like you can't. I don't know how Lily feels about it. I can't speak for her, but like. Yes, they're trying to help the situation,
Yes.
but it's already just too depressing to even consider.
I
because
agree.
You're dealing with a whole
It doesn't
group of
mean
people
right.
who have to be convinced about something so absurd and horrible.
That is true. I agree with that, but it doesn't mean that if I were the rabbi at the time,
You wouldn't do
I
the
wouldn't
same
have to
thing.
fight it with with everything I have. So the rabbi tried. They have different type of ammunition, and this is one thing that they're using. They're telling people it had happened in the past. And the same messages with Avraham.
It's just so sad.
Very sad.
You have to make up ridiculous reasons because people aren't doing the right thing. It's very depressing.
It's a way to.
It's an educational
lure
tool.
people. Yeah.
How educated are the people?
Not only did it happen in the past, but it
And that's
happened in the
happening right
past. Well, but I'm saying it happened from a psychological perspective. It happened in the past to those who you were very familiar with. I think that's because we can
Right.
say a story about anybody.
Right. It's not just
But
right.
Let me tell you who this actually happened to.
Right.
It happened to your heroes.
Right.
It's
The
not my cousin's
archetypes.
brother's sister's friend.
Right.
Yes, we always want to know like someone that we know. It's like the gossip and celebrities. If it happened to someone that we know, it makes it more interesting. I'm just. Well, sorry.
So there's communities now that
I know.
are, the Yazidi women who were kidnapped and sold as sex slaves within the ISIS territories. Many of those women, when they escape, are not accepted back.
I know.
To
Right, it
their
happens to the
families.
Yazidis, right?
So, there still are communities
I know.
that do this, and whether it's right or wrong, I mean, perhaps, looking at these stories is a way to make inroads into raising consciousness. Like maybe this isn't the right way to treat, half of our population, of our community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me tell you.
It's not okay.
Let me give you a real. The story that I know is a.
It's to just say that's wrong.
Yeah.
If you're in a dystopia, I mean, like it's like I don't know, it's too.
So let me tell you a story.
plain
This is a true story that my aunt told me, as she was that happened to her as she was in the maternity ward in Bikur Holim in Israel. She was there, but it was 50 years ago. So maybe even more. It happened to her. Anyway, she said a Yemenite woman came to give birth, and she was so terrified that the process didn't. Your emotional state does affect the. So she was not ready to give birth. She was sort of holding herself back, and the doctor said, "What is going on?" She said that she already had 3 or 4 girls, and her husband said that if she gives birth to a girl, she's not coming back home. She was terrified. The doctor said, "Don't worry, we will take care of your husband, but you have to relax and just do what you have to do." I don't know what came first, the delivery or what they did to the husband. Basically, when the husband came to the hospital, they took him to a side room and they say, "We have to test you." and they drew blood, and then they started counseling each other, and like he's and he's like sitting there all nervous, what's going on, and they keep whispering and this and looking at papers and looking at this and that, this is like happened in the 60s or whatever, and then they said, listen, we have to talk to you. We have a serious problem. He says, what is the problem? He says, we found out that you have a problem. You can only produce girls, right? And we just want to go and inform your wife. She says, no, don't tell her. Like, and basically, she was so surprised when he came to the room and hugged her and kissed her and he carried the baby, because he was like under this threat.
Yeah.
True story.
But
It's a true story.
They must have had a girl.
They had a girl. Yeah, they had a girl. It was a girl. And back then they didn't
Had
know.
to be born first for the story to make any sense.
Yes, yeah, right. I never thought of that. I heard as a kid, so I never really thought
Otherwise,
of
he'd
it.
be like, wait a minute.
Hey, it's a boy, you're luck. That would be a bigger problem.
The next time.
No, but what I'm saying is like sometimes you have people that you could not deal with reason, so you have to make up a story. So the question
That's
is,
beautiful. I love that.
I like
Yeah.
that story.
okay, so it's a midrash.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
modern
right.
midrash.
I only make boys.
Okay, it's your fault.
Nobody complains about that though.
By the way, if you read, did you get to this point in the book about only girls? There are families where that produce only girls.
Yeah, Pride and Prejudice.
No,
They're
but for
Bible.
generations. No,
I
their
didn't
family
get
in
to this.
France, where there were about 70 female descendants for about 3-4 generations, only girls, and it's because the
How many kids in each generation?
3 or 4, like 5 sisters, 5 children, grandchildren.
I know a family.
And
It's always 2 girls and a boy. 2 girls.
yeah,
and a
no,
boy.
but all girls, and it's a rare phenomenon where the male is like
Purged.
yeah,
The
purged.
wild
Yeah.
purged from.
Yeah,
the
it's good for a while. It's not good for all humanity.
No, not at all.
Yeah, some men are necessary, like 1 or 2 if there was ever.
I
Okay.
have nothing against men. I like.
If
men.
I had it, I would have
I
used it.
married one and everything.
Like, I have nothing against them because if I had it, I would use it. So
Well, I have a lot
Anyway,
against
joking.
if you think about it.
yeah. Anyway, but this is like it's also a necessary evil. The rabbis did not create this reality. It was a product with those 2 stories that we saw fit into one. There are others where the rabbis use the midrash as a pedagogical tool. They want to educate people, so they create a story and they project it on a biblical character because this biblical character already has this status, right? He has this halo, and you want to identify with him. So he did it, I could do it also. So if Avraham did the Brit Milah, I could do the Brit Milah. If Mordechai and Esther accepted each other, I can accept my wife.
It's
That's
like the
why you laugh. You
mystique
have
of
something.
celebrity.
No, it's just a thing, so to speak.
Right, but in a way, even though we put our forefathers on a pedestal, right, and they are already from the point of view of the Torah,
flawed.
they are flawed.
They are.
There is one opinion in the Midrash, only one, that of Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, who says that they never did anything wrong, and for some reason everybody right, they liked it. I think more in Europe because of the infallibility of the Pope, and not so much in Sephardic countries. But even Rashi says that he uses rebuke against Yaakov, against in certain cases. But the beauty of portraying someone as a flawed character, which we have in the Tanakh, is that that's the only way that person can be your role model. You cannot have a perfect role model, because if the role model is perfect, you can never aspire to be like him or her. So
why do anything?
Exactly. So an interesting study was done on that. People were asked to imagine themselves either as a superhero, either as Superman, or maybe Batman, or another superhero that is not superhuman, right? And then they were given a list of problems. They were asked to offer solutions. I'm giving you just a really vague outline. I forgot the details of the story, but basically, is what they found out: the people who imagined themselves as the perfect superhero, weren't able to offer solutions to problems.
Oh, wow.
Whereas people who view themselves as flawed superheroes were able to do that. And when they started rationalizing, trying to understand what happened, they realized that when you think of a superhero that could do everything, anything, and you come to real problem, it says, "Oh, I wish I were Superman. I'm not." But when it's a flawed superhero, then you say, "Okay, that," or not just anyone with a certain flaw, they say he or she were able to overcome their flaw. To do that, I can also. This is the beauty of the biblical narrative, where, and in a way, what you described, that they are glorified, they are beyond doubt. It's a deviation from the biblical storyline.
Do you know the source of that? Because you just wrote my Rosh Hashanah sermon.
I know the source of that. I think that would be, I don't know, would be Dan Ariely maybe, or let me Google my mind.
Let us know.
Yeah, I'll think.
Cogitate.
There's modern Midrash too, and I'm just, like, we love the whole Finding Nemo and Dory.
Yeah, I didn't watch the duet, so don't spoil it for me. The second
I
one.
haven't seen it either.
It's brilliant. But really, so it's not really a spoiler alert, but at the end of the movie, they're trying to problem solve. No, it's okay. They're
She's not ruining anything.
I'm not.
I saw it, yeah.
So you know what I'm remembering that. So they're trying to problem solve,
Yeah.
And the question becomes, what would Dory do? And it's brilliant.
What they say that? What would Dory do?
What would Dory do?
Does they have bracelet with WWDD?
Not yet.
Not yet. But I mean,
Sure.
but that's essentially, when you because there are role models everywhere.
Yes.
Right? And that's where story comes in.
It's true, 100%.
So,
That's why the Pixar movies were so much better, up to a certain point, than the Disney movie, that the other, computer generated images, because the other ones were not. There were no storylines. They were just like, gag reels, and Pixar always dwelled very heavily on
all these levels
Yeah.
in which these stories operate. So it just,
I cried at Cars with my son. I went to watch Cars with my son, and I cried.
Wow.
But at what point? At the end of the story, anyone watch the movie?
seen it.
Yes.
Like some people say, Cars, really? So at the end of the story, the race car was like lightning, whatever, right? Stops in his tracks and goes back to help the old car, and
Wow,
this is friendship, this is loyalty, and it's like my son is enjoying it, but I'm crying.
I gotta tell you, my 9-year-old, my 10-year-old, who's 10 now, that was the movie we had watched about 6
Yeah.
years ago. We moved to South Jersey for,
Mm-hmm.
my wife was taking a job in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be this big promotion and everything. And with the taxes, it turned out to be like 70 cents more in the paycheck because the
Very
taxes
expensive to
went
live.
crazy. But anyway, he wanted to watch it. We just moved from Denver. We lived
Uh-huh.
in Colorado.
Wow.
And we would watch that.
That was
movie.
Cars or Cars 2? Because
Cars,
the second
Cars.
was, yeah.
Of course. We would watch that movie, and my wife and I would cry because of the scenery out.
Yeah.
You missed,
And
right.
that's when we left, and we're sitting
Yeah.
here in South Jersey. It's really.
It's the Garden State.
No, it's not.
Hey, watch where you
Not the part.
tread.
You from South Jersey?
I'm not from South
Thank you.
Jersey,
Okay.
but
It was really.
It's
not,
a
New
euphemism.
Jersey is represented.
That's a Garden State is a euphemism
Yeah.
to cover up for the.
There are beautiful
I know.
gardens in
Sorry.
New Jersey.
Sorry.
No, I always cried at the Pixar movie.
Yeah?
Up,
Yeah, I do
so-
too.
Yeah, up,
Oh
like
my
all
God.
of them.
I went to see that on my third date with my now
Yeah.
husband. I bawled so much. I cannot believe
Like
we're
with the
married.
introduction, right? With the first 10 minutes.
Yes!
The first 10 minutes of this movie of Up are just unbelievable. This is
I could, never
you could
watch
give
it
your
again.
sermon on that, yeah. And Frozen the same. People were complaining about Frozen.
Complaining?
And some people were complaining.
what?
I don't know what, but you know what? There were parts in the movie that were not. But when you have this part where the girl sits behind the wall and sings to her sister, "Would you please play with me?"
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God,
And
bawling.
it's the idea
bawling.
of, I saw comments of parents who lost children and how they, saw that movie in that context, right? That the child doesn't understand, where's my sibling? Where to go? Or the whole idea of the movie of parents are trying to protect their children by inhibiting their abilities.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, but sometimes. So this is the modern midrash. I think it's perfectly fine to use that in a That's maybe Jews are so successful in the entertainment industry because we
come from the
we know
outside.
stories, no question.
It's not only about stories, it's also when you come from the outside, you have a different perspective than when you grow up on the inside.
Yeah, in which outside, inside of what?
We're a minority,
Oh, yes,
and we've been everywhere.
yes, it's true.
And it's also the importance of being flawed, when we're getting back to
Yes.
the whole theme
I'll look
of
for it. Yeah,
the Chagim, that, to take away that, there's important lessons or important gifts that we have in our imperfection.
yes.
And for me, that, Midrash really, that's the source for me of.
Yeah, I have one of the midrashim for you. If, down the line, of a midrash that shows God as with weaknesses, and that with a certain weakness. But in any case, I think it was a midrash. It was written by a woman. That specific one. So not because women are weak, but because women are willing to discuss their weaknesses, whereas men usually try to hide it. So anyway, I don't think we could go, but I could actually start the next unit if we have. It's 4:15. We have another.
We're going to be done with the class this week.
Okay. So